You're watching Your Trades on ET Now, a show where we'll be summing up all the market action for you and everything that we've seen in today's trading session, inside and outside of the markets both, because we've had major developments brewing just in the last few hours of trade. I'm Snehisha. Joining me is Ankita Saxena on the show as usual. Let's take a look at the top news of the day, and first let's talk about the markets. A big cut coming in towards the end of the day on the communication that we've received from the Defence Ministry confirming the strike in Lahore and the neutralization of their air defence systems in Lahore. So that's the news that we have confirmed now from the Defence Ministry is what we're getting. And Nifty 50 took a sharp tumble after that, a 0.6% cut, but recovered slightly towards closing point. 24,273 is where we have ended today's session. Let's also take a look at what the broader markets are doing, because bigger cuts were being seen on the broader markets today. Nifty mid cap was lower by almost 2%. Small cap was comparatively better, slightly a 1.5% cut coming in on the small cap index. Handful of stocks that were in the green from the Nifty 50 pack. Titan in focus, and on the flip side you had a lot of stocks that have closed in the red. Shriram Finance, Hindalco, Eternal, Adani Enterprises, Tata Consumer. Just want to quickly touch upon the defense stocks once again. Let's pull up something like an HAL, BHEL, BEL, Cochin Shipyard, Bharat Forge, see what all of these stocks are doing. A 1% cut on HAL, BHEL lower by 3.5%. Cochin Shipyard also has closed with cuts of 1%, and I'm sure that's the same story for all the defense stocks. Garden Reach also lower by 2%. That's what we're seeing on the defense end of the market right now. But if you take a look at the top news of the day, other than the market, Trump has teased a major trade deal between the US and the UK. Now, if this comes to fruition, if this actually comes true, then a lot of our stocks also stand to gain. Case in point being Tata Motors, that was in focus today on the back of this possible signing. You have the Fed action that came in overnight, where Fed has held its rates and Jerome Powell has flagged uncertainty. It was a unanimous call to hold rates despite Donald Trump's pressure on the Fed to cut rates in a bid to boost consumption and demand in the US. That was the top news of the day. But Ankita, what else were you tracking? Of course, we've had big words coming in from the Defence Ministry. But other than that, when it comes to the market, what stood out?
Absolutely, Sneh. Big word coming in from the Defence Ministry. In the back of that comes second half. We saw the market stumble. In fact, we ended at the lowest point of the day. Also, we had a couple of earnings. Asian Paints, Dabur, that reported weak set of numbers, and because of weak set of numbers coming in for Dabur, the entire FMCG pack was reeling under pressure on the back of that. Also, we had couple of other, like Sneh mentioned, the top news. But besides that, we have a couple of earnings from Blue Star, Voltas, Sonata Software, United Breweries posting their earnings. Also, Symphony also posted strong set of numbers. We also had the management coming on board on ET Now. We had strong set coming in from Symphony. Symphony is one counter that was really holding up well throughout the trading session with gains upwards of 7+%. But besides that, Coal India also posted its numbers, a mixed set of numbers coming in, but it did see an uptick, but by the time the day ended, it declined, gave up all the gains coming in on Coal India as well. But so these were the names that were in focus on the back of their earnings. More earnings expected today as well. Big names. Titan is supposed to report its big names coming in, for the quarter four earnings. Titan also is set to report its earnings. Good set is what we are expecting. But let's move on and get on board Kunal Bothra, who's here to weigh in on the markets. Kunal, what a day. Second half, we reversed all the gains coming in. In fact, Nifty, that was managing to hold above the 24,400, actually ended the day at 24,154. Do you see this consolidation going ahead? Of course, the tensions are escalating, but on the charts, what are the levels that you're watching out for?
Yeah, good afternoon. So it's difficult to anticipate that which side, because the news flow has been so consistent that it keeps the market markets on the edge. I think the only factor which we look out for when we see such kind of a news flow and the reaction from the markets is the India VIX or the volatility index. And I think we managed to shoot up to almost 21.5. I think we closed just about close to that 22 levels for the India VIX. That I believe could be a near-term concern, because the more the India VIX rises or spikes, the more the sentiment could start to recede on an immediate basis. And I think that could also be reflective on the kind of market breadth selling which we've been seeing over the last 2 out of the last 3 days, where we've seen more market breadth, mid caps, small caps taking a lot of heat. So I believe that the India VIX holds the key for the market trend going forward, and especially over the very near term, and especially with the kind of news flow surrounding our markets. If we manage to see a further spike, say towards 22.5, 23 plus levels, that could probably be an indication that the Nifty as well as the Bank Nifty they could see a further leg of correction. But on the downside, if the India VIX manages to come back, say, and break below the 18 mark, that's where I would believe that there could be a very strong chance that the markets would come back into a buy and dips territory.
Okay, that's the take on the market view going ahead. But Kunal, amid a market like this, tell us, if you had to recommend stocks to our viewers, what would they be?
So I'll go with two sell calls, and both of them are interesting sells. The first one is a sell on Interglobe Aviation. That's a stock which has confirmed a breakdown of a double top kind of a formation. So would look out for targets in the range of 5,000. Stop loss could be kept at 51.50. And the second would be a sell on Jubilant Food. That's also a stock which has confirmed a breakdown of sorts on the hourly chart. So would look out for targets in the range of 655. Stop loss at 690.
All right, Kunal, thank you so much for giving us your picks. We'll let you go on that note, but moving on to the word coming in from the Y. Sandeep Tandon, who's the CIO of Quant Mutual Fund, says that he likes Pharma as a segment amid all the tariff tantrums. Listen into what is the rationale behind liking the pharma sector.
Our entire focus is on domestic story. Right from January, it is skewed toward domestic, and within export, only generic stocks we have, because we believe, irrespective of noise and irrespective of price movement of today also, we think there is no choice for you. Even for US customer also, we are like 55-60% of the generic market share we have. Is there any substitute like Bangladesh or Vietnam or any country? Answer is big no. So not much can happen there, despite the discomfort is huge right now. But I think the one area where we have comfortable earnings are there. Okay, so if you look at the earnings cycle also, we are very optimistic about the pharma as a space, generic as a space, and Indian companies are in the leadership position. So anything which is a leadership position which is growing, why we should be avoiding it? We are overweight in that, because there is no substitute. Okay, if you have a substitute, okay, and let's say vehicle, you can defer your car purchase for 2 years. You can defer buying your garments, okay, for 6 months. But you can't defer your medicine even for 2 days. Okay, so that's a compulsion you have. So when you have a compulsion, you don't have too many choices.
Word coming in from Sandeep Tandon, but let's move on and talk about the stock of the day, if you could call it that. Asian Paints, the stock that reported its quarter 4 earnings, and Rabinder, who tracks the sector closely, is joining us with his take on what Asian Paints quarter 4 numbers look like. Rabinder, take us through the earnings fine print and tell us if the numbers were at par with what the street was expecting.
Well, as Asian Paint has announced its Q4 number, and company reported a revenue at rupees 8,330 crore, which was down by 4.5% on a yearly basis. And if we talk about net profit, then net profit also saw a sharp decline with exceptional loss of 183 crore in Q4. Company reported EBITDA at rupees 140 crore, which was down by 16% on a yearly basis. So PAT and EBITDA was below the street estimate, and revenue was largely in line with the street estimate. So Asian Paint Q4 number was not that good. And if we talk about decorative paint business in India, their registered a volume growth of 1.8%. And if we talk about segmental performance and the international business, in international business, sales decrease in Q4 by 1.5% on back of currency devaluation in Ethiopia, Egypt, and macroeconomic challenges in Bangladesh. And if we talk about home decor businesses, then the home decor businesses saw muted performance in Q4 FY25 with pressure on the household disposable income. And company's industrial business saw growth of 6.1% in Q4 FY25. So, and lastly, and commenting on the result, Amit Singhal, CEO and MD of Asian Paint, said that the overall macro environment remain uncertain, and they are cautiously optimistic about a recovery in the demand condition. And lastly, demand for decorative coating was only marginally better than the third quarter. So overall, a weak set of number of Asian Paint in Q4.
Right, a weak set of results coming in for Asian Paints, but Ravinder, hang in there. Let's talk about all the stocks besides Asian Paints that were in focus in today's trading session. Take it away, Ravinder. Take us through all the stocks.
Well, as company is in focus, where company has announced its Q4 number, and company reported a revenue at rupees 488 crore, which was up by 2 times year-on-year basis, and company recorded highest annually at quarterly EBITDA and PAT. Moving to next, Canara Bank were also in focus, where Canara Bank reported a PAT at rupees 5,002 crore as compared to 3,757 crore year-on-year basis, and company reported GNPA at 2.94% as compared to 3.34% on a sequential basis, and company reported an NPA at 0.7% at Q4. And if we talk about NII, then company reported NII at rupees 9,442 crore as compared to 9,580 crore on a yearly basis. Moving to next, Bharat Forge were also in focus, where Bharat Forge has also announced its Q4 number, and company reported revenue at rupees 2,163 crore, which was down by 7% year on year basis, and company's net profit was down by 11.5% on a yearly basis. And if we talk about margins, then company's margins was slightly up 21 basis point year on year basis. Apart from this, Tata Chemical were also in focus on back of Q4 number, where Tata Chemical reported a revenue at rupees 3,509 crore, which was flat on a yearly basis. And if we company reported a net loss at 49 crore as compared to loss of 841 crore. And company says that demand supply balance continue to be soft, coupled with uncertainty in soda ash trade driven by the tariff charges. So overall, Tata Chemical Q4 number was weak. And lastly, Uno Minda were also in focus, where Uno Minda to set up a two-wheeler alloy wheel facility in Haryana, and the project estimated with a total capex of rupees 200 crore.
In